right, we're going to read the Book of Equanimity. It's really been doing it for me lately. Case 79. Chosha advances a step. Preface to the assembly. The wife in the Ba family of King Shadanto was a special spirit. She pounded millet cakes in a jar of emerald. Who would be so boisterous to pound millet cakes with emerald? If you don't get into a wave that astonishes people, it would be hard to meet with a fish that satisfies you. I love Buddhism. If you don't get into a wave that astonishes people, it would be hard to meet with a fish that satisfies you. Is that the way of saying if you don't surprise people, you don't get into a wave that astonishes people, surprise moves them, it'd be hard to meet with something to eat you won't be met with anything that satisfies you. That's funny. How about this phrase? Step out with a great stride. Main case, attention. Sorry, you're just gonna have to deal with the ones to come fly away. Master Chosha told a monk to go and ask the hermit Osho, what about before you saw Nansen? The monk did so, and was silent for a while. The monk asked, what about after seeing him? Then what? Said, nothing special. The monk returned and told this to Chosha, and Chosha said, there is a man on top of 100-foot pole. Though he has a degree of understanding, it's not yet the real thing. I'm beginning to understand what that means. From the top of the 100-foot pole, he should advance a step, and the 10 directions of the world will be his entire body. The monk asked, how do you advance a step? Chosha replied, the mountains of Ro province, the waters of Ray province. The monk said, I don't understand. Chosha remarked, the 4 oceans and the 5 lakes are within the king's control. Appreciatory verse. The jeweled man's dream is broken by one cock's crow. Look around at life and everything is equal. The wind and thunder carry news, awakening, hibernating creatures. Wordless peach and plum, under them people's footpaths naturally form. When the season comes, work to till the soil. Who's afraid in spring paddies to sink in, mud to the knees? Here, Master Chosha is encouraging us to take a step forward from wherever we may be. Each one of us is stranded on a 100-foot pole. We may have climbed up for the view, or we may have fallen to it from another perch. No matter where we are in our Zen practice or our life, we're always standing on top of a 100-foot pole, but we must not rest there. We must step forward into the unknown void in order to experience the boundless life. Chosha was a successor of Master Nansen and a Dharma brother of Master Joshu. He gained a reputation as being a vigorous teacher. Chosha said to the famous Kwezen when Chosha was a young, stubborn monk, everyone is looking at the full moon and enjoying it. Kyozen replied, everyone is completely endowed with this, but they are unable to make use of it. Chosha said, I invite you to use it now. Kyozen said, how would you use it? Chosha knocked Kyozen down with a shove and jumped on his chest. Kyozen said, whoa, just like a tiger. Thus he came to be known as Tiger-sen, which is an abbreviation of one of his Dharma names. The other main character in this case, Hermit is also a disciple of Nansen, and there's nothing recorded about him other than this one case. He was supposed to have been recognized by Nansen in secret, but evidently Chosha wasn't impressed with him. Once Chosha told his assembly, the whole universe and the 10 directions is the light of oneself. In that kind of talk, Chosha is encouraging each one of us to see the light that illuminates the reality of all things. The light that illuminates the reality of all things. Without it, we're like ghosts walking around, rattling our chains. So you're unaware You're unaware that there's a light operating everything, a light and a life. And so we walk around feeling dead like zombies, right? It's like being in a dream from which we cannot awaken. To awaken, we need to have trust to let go. That's what this koan is about. Once a student came to the Indian ancestor Upagupta, asking to be ordained as a disciple. Upagupta said, "In order to be ordained, you must believe in my words and never disobey my instructions." The man agreed, and Upagupta conjured a precipitous cliff and made the man climb up a tree on the edge. Then Upagupta instructed him to release his foothold. The man did so. Upagupta instructed him to let go of one hand, and the man did that. Upagupta instructed him to let go of the other hand. And the man exclaimed, "If I let go of this hand, I'll fall over the cliff and die." Understand this is the exact same allegory as Abraham and Isaac in the Bible. It plays over and again. Upagupta said, "You had promised to follow my instructions. How can you disobey me?" This is so perfect because this is exactly what I've been talking about in work and executive management, and how you're always supposed to give your yes no matter what, even if it goes against your insides. And it's easy to give a yes when it goes against your insides, but he put him right up against the ultimate yes. Are you willing to not disobey me, even if you know it'll kill you? Because all the other things, you can shave off your integrity, you can do all that. But when someone's instructions are literally going to cost you your life, it would be insane to follow them. And so he just puts them right into the single most insane situation to be like, really, are you really willing to do whatever I tell you and never disobey me? You really think that's the path to enlightenment? It's the opposite of that. And so it's claiming your life as your own. It's not giving away your power. It's realizing nobody has anything that you need. That's what the sage has to teach a disciple while they're also needing him as their master. So it's very interesting because it's like the master's job, definitely in Buddhism, is to teach the student that they don't need the master. But it's a very interesting process. So he says, "You said you were going to follow my instructions. How can you disobey me?" At that moment, the man took the plunge, and he let go of his hand and fell. He no longer saw the tree or the cliff, and suddenly he realized the Buddha way. Okay, so that's an allegory where he actually let go and fell and found the Buddha way. But that would be an allegory for really letting go and finding it. We can believe all we want, and I see that's also, I think, in House of Flying Daggers. She just floats off into the abyss, so maybe that's kind of like a Buddhist ending. We can believe all we want. We can make up all kinds of ideas in our heads about what it is to let go, to be free, to be unencumbered, but no matter how much we think about it, that's not it. We can't satisfy our hunger by looking at a menu. What is it that keeps us from taking that step into the unknown void? A monk once asked Chosha, "Who is it who becomes a Buddha?" Chosha said, "It's you that becomes a Buddha." The monk didn't know what to say, so Chosha said, "Do you understand?" The monk said, "No." "What is there to understand?" Chosha tried to give him an analogy. If someone trips on the ground and falls down, and then they use the ground to get up again, does the ground complain? If someone trips on the ground and falls down and then they use the ground to get up again, does the ground complain? Every evening we chant the Bodhisattva vow. Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them. That's their chant. I've said that a lot. Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them. If you are the ground and one of them trips and falls on you and gets back up by pushing off on you, do you complain? Ha! I think I started these videos today complaining about exactly this. Isn't that funny? The vow means all sentient beings. It doesn't mean not that person because he's a jerk. It's the same thing with stepping off the top of the 100-foot pole. I can let go of this. And I can let go of the other thing. But you want me to let go of that? Oh no, if I let go of that, then who will I be? Precisely. How can you live your life freely? You can ascend the mountain, but you have to descend it to be free. Isn't that funny? Oh my God, for so long I've said, like, especially professionally, you have to go up and come back down and go up and come back down. Going up doesn't give you the full picture. I love having a house bunny. It's still so weird to see a bunny running across the floor. Good morning, pal. And here it's literally in Buddhism. I can't believe that. That's amazing. How can you live your life freely? You can ascend the mountain, but you have to descend it to be free. So that's the problem even in our leaders. They ascend, they don't descend. You have to go up and come back down. That's why we don't have that quality of character. That's why I do, because I went up and came back down several times. Okay, I get that. I get that. You can ascend the mountain, but you have to descend it to be free. Hermit E left Nansen and stayed on his lofty peak. From his short dialogue with the monk, Chosha felt he was still holding on to something. I heard that Philip Kapleau told one of his students, who was acting with apparent humility, "Don't be so humble. You're not that good." If you're nothing special, why do you have to say you're nothing special? Both before and after awakening are 100-foot poles. The ground is always shifting. There's no place to rest. In case 38 of the Gateless Gate, Master Gosu said of our practice, it's like a buffalo passing through a window. Its head, horns, body, and 4 legs have all passed through. Why is it that the tail cannot? There's something that can't quite pass through. Some people have incredible abilities, but somehow there's always something sticky. There's always something that sticks. In each stage of our practice, it's something different. Our habit-ridden consciousness holds us in one place. If you hear the bell, that's the bunny playing with the Christmas tree. I guess it's Christmas time. And he wants attention. Okay, our habit-ridden consciousness holds us in one place if we don't see it and let it go. We need to watch it very carefully without judging. You can see how quickly you fall into old patterns of behavior. It's almost like trying to separate yourself from your shadow. And it gets more and more subtle. Before realizing it, our old patterns pop up. So how can we step forward from the top of that 100-foot pole? That 100-foot pole can be any precipice, any difficulty. And when you do step forward, where are you? Are you on top of another 100-foot pole? The monk in this case says, how do you advance a step? And Chosha replies, the mountains of Ro province, the waters of Ray province. In other words, manifest your body in the 10 directions. But the monk says, I don't understand. And Chosha remarks, the 4 oceans and the 5 lakes are within the king's control. Who is that king? Who is it who becomes a Buddha? The whole universe in the 10 directions is your whole body. Fishes and foxes frolic everywhere. The verse says, who's afraid in spring paddies to sink in mud to the knees? If you don't sink into the mud in the spring, how will you enjoy a bowl of rice in the summer? We have to enter those places that scare us, and we must do so over and over again. Wow, this is poignant for me. I've been doing this, and I'm like, why do I have to be back here? Does this really serve any purpose? Why do I come back down? I'm supposed to just stay at the top. Look, everybody just goes up. This is so funny. This is speaking to me on so many levels of wisdom that I need to hear about. We are supposed to go to places that scare us again and again. We're supposed to go up and come back down and be humbled again and again. We're supposed to have pieces of ourselves removed, taken away, broken away. What is it that we want to let go? How many times I've realized this recently. I've been specifically prepared for specific work because I have been shredded and broken and shattered, and everything that I thought was me has been taken away from me. And guess what? I'm still here and doing great. So that tells me it wasn't me. And that's that conversation, because as you begin to realize that, you begin to realize, well, these things come and go, and I can have them or let them go at will, because I'm still here and I'm better than ever. And all the things that I thought I couldn't live without aren't here. And new things came in, of course, but there's a happening in that process that's so much and so intense. The great way is not something to believe in. It's something you have to realize for yourself. And that's also it's funny they say that. I was realizing this, I was walking the other day. I was like, you don't ever even need to be worried. I would never even be worried about someone being where I am. Like, I would want to share my knowledge and information, because no one I can't give away what I'm getting, the knowledge, the knowing. The difference in my vibration and my presence and like the way I feel has shifted so much the last few months. And I'm realizing I can't give that to anyone. That's something people have to walk their own path to get there. And so now I understand a lot more about this, like how a Buddhist monk or a master teacher gives people nuggets along the way, but they have to keep going. They have to do the work, because I'm where I'm at because I've done the work and have the experience. And I can't give you the experience. You have to live life to have the experience. I can only support or guide along the way. So the great way is not something to believe in. It's something you have to realize for yourself. And we read that again and again, but when you one day really realize it, like I have this week, I'm like, oh, it's different. As long as you want to hold on to this limited view of who you are, you'll never do it. All kinds of discomforts come up during Zazen and the rest of your life. But as long as you have the faith and determination, you can encounter them with your eyes open. Just keep going forward step by step from the top of the 100-foot pole. They're also pointing at, in here, I'm realizing, metaphysics. They just don't say it. And because my body can become the 10 directions and affect the lakes and the rivers and all the things because of my vibration. The whole universe is my body because we're all made of the same stuff. It just looks like we're separate when I'm looking through my eyes. But really, we're all just one giant clump of vibration. Probably if you're outside of it looking at it, would be one giant vibrational being, which would be God. All of it together, everything together. But so we are all of it. We're just a physical point, enjoying and appreciate it from a fixed, separate angle, because you couldn't enjoy it if you weren't. Anyway, that was very deep and insightful. Really appreciating Jerry Wick more and more every day. And I hope you do too.